In this video, I'm going to teach you how to use paddles the right way. And if you've never been taught how to use paddles, there's a good chance you're missing out on opportunities to improve your technique and also putting yourself at risk for injury. Stick around, you're going to want to check this out. What's up guys, I'm Coach Matt Z. I'm the head coach of Davis Aquatic Masters out in California, and I also make YouTube videos for people looking to learn more and elevate their swimming. Today, I'm gonna teach you how to use your paddles the right way, and stick around to the end of the video because I'm also gonna run you through one of my favorite pulling sets that I've done with my team. Also, I want you to keep an eye out for part 2 of this video where I'm going to talk about the 3 most common mistakes I see people make with their paddles, and I want you to catch that video so you don't end up making those same mistakes. But before we get into that, I want to share some exciting news with you. I have now reached the YouTube milestone where you can support the channel monetarily. If you feel like you're getting a lot out of this channel and you'd like to give some extra support, you can click that little $ button under the video and send me a little thanks. Your contributions will go directly back into the channel so I can keep making awesome videos for you guys. Your support means a ton to me, so thank you very much for that. Next, if you're looking for some new gear, go check out my friends at Finis. Their website is finiswim.com. They've got all sorts of great swimming gear, including my favorite snorkel, the stability snorkel, the paddles that I'm going to talk about today, suits, goggles, and more. They've also got a really cool smart goggle, which I'll talk about in a later video, and spoiler alert, I like it. So go check them out and use the code CoachMattZ at checkout for a 20% discount. You won't regret it. Now back to the video. All right, so let's get into the right way to use your paddles. Paddles can be a great tool that can help you in a lot of ways, but they can also put you at a greater risk for injury. So when you bust out the paddles, the first thing I want you to think about is your technique. If you're looking to get big and buff with your paddles, you gotta make sure you have your technique down first. Otherwise, there's a good chance you're gonna get injured. All right, so to do this, we're gonna start off by making sure we're wearing the paddle correctly. So if you buy a paddle like this, I want you to either take off or just don't put on the wrist strap. And the reason why we don't need the wrist strap is because if you're pulling correctly, the paddle should stay on your hand without it. Now, if you're pulling incorrectly, like dropping your elbow or your wrist, the water's gonna catch the bottom of the paddle and it's gonna fall off. It's gonna be super annoying, but it's gonna teach you really fast to make sure that you are pulling through the water correctly. So we also wanna make sure that we choose the right paddle, and there's tons of different styles of paddles. I've got 3 here that I've used. The first one is the Stroke Maker, which it's gonna help you with your technique. It's gonna help you build some strength, but what I don't love about it is there's not a lot of flex to it. So it's hard to really get that feeling of the high elbow catch at the beginning of your stroke. So I think there's some better options, but this one does get the job done. Now I like this paddle. This is one that I've used a lot. It's a Speedo. It's got this like ridge design here, which gives it a little flex. So when you put it on, as you're pulling at the beginning of your stroke, you can flex it really easily, and that helps push your fingertips down and pop your elbow up. The other one that I have that I like is this Finis paddle. This one's pretty cool. No straps. You just stick your finger through the finger hole there. This one, even though it doesn't have that flex to it, it really helps you pop your elbow up and push all the way through your stroke. And this one is Finis, so if you use the code CoachMattZ, you get 20% off of these guys. All right, so now that we've got the right paddles and we're using them correctly, it's time to start swimming with them. And I recommend starting with your paddles without using the buoy. This will make sure that you're not putting too much pressure on your shoulders. You can even put on fins if you like. I also like to pair the paddles with a snorkel to help with my head position and technique. When you're swimming, focus on your distance per stroke and your stroke count. Don't try to overdo the speed or the yardage. We want to be super efficient and have great technique. I want you to start out with sets that are lower in yardage and give you plenty of rest. Think about when you go to the gym. You don't immediately go to the heaviest weights. We slowly build up the weights over a long period of time. If you try to do too much with poor technique, you're asking for injury. So take your time before you move on to the next great benefit of paddles, which is strength building. All right, so now that we've got that technique figured out, it's time to talk about what I think is the more fun part of using paddles, which is building strength. Now remember, we gotta make sure we have that technique down before we move on to trying to build up some strength. So talk to your coach. If you have a coach, have them take a look at your stroke, make sure you're looking good. If you don't have a coach, have somebody record you so you can watch it, or reach out to me and I can help you. So we're talking about building strength. This is where I like to add in that buoy, and I typically also take off my snorkel. Now, you guys can definitely leave your snorkel on if you like swimming with your snorkel. I like to take it off when I'm doing my harder sets, but it's totally up to you. I like to start off with building my endurance, so longer sets, higher volume in a lower zone. Things like 200s or more on short rest, where we're not spiking our heart rate too much. Once you build up that aerobic capacity and your shoulders are getting stronger, then you can add in some of that sprint work. If you're a distance swimmer or an open water swimmer and you only want to work on endurance with your paddles, that's totally fine. You can just stick to that. But if you're a sprinter, this is your opportunity to do some of those all-out sprints. So like 25s or 50s as fast as you can go on at least a 1-to-1 work to rest ratio. Just make sure that you have that technique down because we're going fast here. You got a high chance of injury if you're doing it incorrectly. Following these steps, going from technique to endurance to sprint, will help ensure that you're using your paddles correctly and not putting yourself at risk for injury. Take your time on this. It's a marathon, not a sprint. All right, guys, now as promised, I got a little bonus footage for you. I'm gonna run you through one of my favorite pulling sets that I've done with my team. And the way this set works is we're gonna do a 500, a 400, a 300, a 200, and a 100. Now, you can start wherever you want on this set. If a 500 is a little bit too much, you could start with the 400 or the 300. Okay, so the way the 500 works is we're gonna start with a 400 pulling at a moderate pace. We'll do that with paddles and a buoy. We're gonna stop after 400 yards. We're gonna take a 20-second rest because all of these swims are broken. So we take that 20 seconds rest, then we're gonna go a 50 fast pull. So we'll keep the paddles and the buoys on. We're gonna go fast for that 50. We'll take another 20 seconds rest. We're gonna take the buoy out and then we're gonna go that last 50 is gonna be fast with paddles, no buoy. So we're gonna be using those legs going as fast as we can. As you go through the set, we're gonna follow the same pattern. We're just gonna drop 100 yards off that initial moderate pull as the swims get shorter. I like to take 20 seconds rest at the breaks. You can take more or less if you want. It's up to you. And I like to take about 30 seconds to a minute in between the big swims. So in between the 500 and the 400, 400 and the 300, and so on. I'd rather you take more rest and do it right than take less rest and do a bad job. I'll put this set down in the description of the video so you guys can print it off and take it to the pool and give it a try. If you do try it, let me know how it goes. And if you'd like to see more sets like this or other kinds of sets that I've done with my team, let me know down in the comments. All right, guys, that is how you use your paddles the right way. Now listen, paddles are a great tool that can help you with your technique and also help you build strength. So if you don't already have a pair, go get some and give them a try. Just make sure you start by focusing on your technique and then building up endurance. And once you've done that, go give my pulling set a try and let me know in the comments how it goes. Remember, if you need some paddles or any other gear, go to finiseswim.com, enter the code CoachMattZ for 20% off. And as always, if you like this video, hit that thumbs up button. If you like the content, consider subscribing. I'm Coach Matt Z. I hope you learned something. I hope you enjoyed yourself. I'll see you next time.